All right, buckle up, people. I'm here to talk about Final Fantasy 14 again, and in a negative way. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, hold on, relax. I know that speaking negatively about the game, criticizing about FF14 is a sin that shall never be forgiven, but it is something that must be heard. Now, Lucy Pyre, if you don't know, a little VTuber around here that you may have seen around with very yabai moments, as they would say. But recently, at least for me, as I'm talking about this right now, just a few hours ago, released another Final Fantasy 14 video after it had been about, I don't know, like 2 to 3 years since about she made a last video on Final Fantasy 14. But she used to make Final Fantasy 14 videos pretty regularly. You've probably seen a lot of them as well, or people react to them. But anyway, it had been a long time since she had actually made or talked about 14 or made a video about it. Today, as I am talking about this right now, she made another video criticizing Final Fantasy 14, a roughly 40-minute video talking about all the things that are wrong about 14, as she has put it, what is wrong with the game. And she's right. She's right. She's completely right. These are also a lot of what she expressed in her video is the same sentiment that I have also been expressing as well. I have talking about the issues about Final Fantasy 14. Well, a long while ago during Endwalker, I saw some of the writing on the wall and said, ooh, this can be bad. This can be bad. And I'm pretty much right about it. I do want to say that yes, 7.2 is on its way and it looks promising. I will keep it honest and I will try out the stuff that comes out with that patch and see if the game is heading in a better direction. However, but there are still other issues that are kind of bigger than that at this point. This is how in deep shit we are, that it's not just simply the content, it's also about how the content basically comes out. But getting back to Lucy Pyre, she goes over multiple things: lack of content, quality of content, cash shop, laziness, the story, which, to each their own about the opinion of the story. I don't agree. I did enjoy the story, but, it's not, the story is obviously does have its issues, and that's fine. But in my opinion, I think the story is the least of concern at this point. It is the least of concern considering the wide range of problems that Final Fantasy 14 now has. One of the things that she mentions in her video is the time at which patches now come out. As some may know, if they were around long enough, patches used to come out about 3.5 months, right? But this all changed shortly after the release of Endwalker, if I am not mistaken, where they did a live letter, or a special live letter, not too long after the expansion released, where they talked about multiple things. And one of the things they mentioned was that they were increasing the patch cycle length between patches now, extra 2 weeks, right? So cool. At the time, me and probably many others were optimistic about it. I was like, oh, cool, maybe this will give them more time to deliver better quality content and blah blah blah, so on and so forth, right? I was optimistic. Endwalker came by and now we're into Dantro, and now the optimistic has been, for me at least, blown out of the way. There has been worse content release, horrible decisions after horrible decisions about content implementation, horrible rewards. Looking at you, Criterion. What else? The quality of content has not been best. Content has been, just riddled with unpolished content, has been released not with the polished it used to have. Bugginess in higher levels of content like top, or not testing out things correct or sufficiently enough, like how we saw in P8. Y'all remember P8? Yeah, that stuff, and just wide other things. Jobs are probably the worst they've almost ever been at this point, and seemingly no fix in sight. Okay, I made a video specifically saying about that to one job that I really cared about. Well, I still kind of do, because you know, you just don't spend that much time with something and then just throw it away. But I could go on and on and on. Okay, but I'm not here to look at making an hour-long video. Okay, point being is that there's something wrong with the way they're doing things, and the way they've been doing things has been the same since Heaven's Word, maybe even A Realm Reborn. Let's see, over 10, 12-ish years ago at this point. Things need to change. And yes, I know that Yoshi P, almost last year at this point, Jesus Christ, how time passes, has repeatedly said, has stated that they realize that they need to make changes. The way content has been made, how it has been dumbed down to fucking to anything that is not a savage. And I'm being gracious, excluding savage from being just a joke. But you know, dungeons, trials, everything was just baby mode. Yeah, the dungeons came out for Dawn Trail and they were better. Yes, they were better. You know, at this point, some of the changes that should have happened a long while ago that are now slowly starting to happen, kind of like more needs to happen at this point. The scheduling of how they do things just needs to happen, just needs to change. It needs to change. Okay, I know somewhere in the sea of quotes of Yoshi P in interviews, he has stated once that they don't necessarily want to turn the wheel in a hard direction the other way. Okay, this is future me coming in to actually say that I did actually see that Yoshi P did actually say that he wanted to incorporate more changes and not just little conservative changes, which is what they kind of have been doing for the next expansion. Now, while that is good, leaving off all the way to the next expansion is still, in my opinion, not the best decision, because the next expansion is still like a year and a half-ish like away still. That's a long time to actually start making meaningful changes. So, you know, the point still stands that they still need to make more changes a lot sooner. But the more that time passes, the more that that just needs to happen. I'm sorry, that just needs to happen. The way that this kind of goes just can't continue unless they just want to run the game into the ground and, you know, put the least amount of effort into things and milk it out for as much as they can until there's a point of no return. But a clear change in direction, a clear change of how they do things as they have been doing them for the last 10 years, you know, they got to do away with it. Out with the old, in with the new. Things need to change. The more that the days pass by, the more I am convinced that, yeah, we just need to do another A Realm Reborn. We need to do A Realm Reborn 2. Nuke the game, make a new one, because, you know, it's kind of sad. Again, you know, I am going to check out 7.2. I will check that out. I will see how things are, and subsequently how 7.3 and 7.4 follow up, because that's also important. How the content continues to be updated as time goes on. One other thing that I want to mention about Lucy's Pyre's video, what she talks about in there, is also how the community is just basically just doesn't dare to take any criticism of the game. And that's pathetic. You can't just white knight defend every slop that they do, every bad decision that they make. Stop being blinded to the real issues of the game that the game glaringly has. The only reason that most people, myself included, even criticize the game as hard as they do is because we want to see the game better. We want to see the game better. You know, I spent nearly 5 years with this game, and that might be small in comparison to other people who have been going on for 8 to 10 years. But, you know, it was a lot of time spent that I genuinely enjoyed. And then at some point, I you know, you could say the honeymoon phase was over. And then I took a look at how the game was, and I'm like, this is not good. You know, things need to change. And I keep saying, I've already said that a lot, but it needs to continuously be stated. Things need to change. Stop giving the same slop that we've been giving. Change the release schedule of things around, please. It's, god damn it, you know, this expansion release made me realize how kind of tedious and boring it is for a new Final Fantasy 14 expansion to come out. I'm not even going to get into that because that's a whole other different topic. Let's just say there's a lot of goddamn chores to do when you're waiting for actual stuff to come out. And even then, the first two well, I guess 7.1 is almost like a nothing burger. There are some things. Yes, there was the chaotic alliance, but then that raises another issue I have with that, was release time, the release window. Why would you think it's a good idea to add it on fucking Christmas time? Like, come on, you can't do that for something, for a brand new piece of content that brought in new reward structures or just something, right? It brought something, different gear and all that stuff. How can you think to drop it on Christmas Day? Well, was it Christmas Day? It was around It was around the 24th, if I'm remembering correctly. It's just, you could have had a way better release window for it. And since it was also the patch that Ultimate came out, you could have literally released it before Ultimate came out. When the patch dropped, you could have literally done that. And it's like, great, there's a lot of stuff to do. Hey, you can get a lot of raiders to gear up to this new fight and all this stuff, because as we all know, gearing up jobs in 14 isn't exactly the most player friendly or isn't exactly great for people who play multiple jobs. Very ironic from the game that proudly promotes itself for being able to play multiple jobs on one character. Another thing that Pyre did mention, you know, and countless others have also mentioned that as well. These days, up until this point, and we'll see how 7.2 and beyond unfold, but content in 14 has just not been worth it. It's just not been worth it. It has not been the high quality that it needs to be. And it's just, you know, unsub from the game or just don't play the game out and play other stuff, because there are other more games out there that are just way more worth it. And I know that there's bound to be criticism, or not criticism, there are bound to be people who say, well, 14 respects your time. It's just like, no, dog, no. Respecting your time does not mean that you just don't play the game at all. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. Okay, how's it that a new patch drops and you're done with it in like a day or two? Like, hello? Like, you can be done with it a day or two. Fuck it, I'll be generous and say a week, because of course they like to spread things out and in some to ridiculous degree, in my opinion. There are definitely some things that should just be released on the same day, because come on, there are a lot of different people who play this game, and people play the game for different aspects of content. Maybe you're into the Savage part, maybe you're into just doing the trials, or maybe more mid-core stuff. Wait, I forgot, there is no mid-core stuff, but don't worry, 7.2 is coming around and we'll see how that turns out for the mid-core content. Anyways, I'm rambling. At this point, I'm rambling on. Yeah, you know, I just watched the Pyre video, and I also felt like taking my crack at criticizing 14 in a more general, broad sentiment in this case. You know, because I also didn't want to make like a minimum half-hour video on on this. Especially when there is a Monster Hunter out right now that I am having tons of fun playing through. But anyways, yeah, Pyre video, go check that out. Was great, and highly recommend watching the video if you want to see the more stuff in detail that she talks about, and criticism, very valid criticism that she gives. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me here. Peace.